Thank you for coming to the Trajectory podcast, streaming live podcast. My name's Scotty Carlisle,
Jakey Tamara.
and today I have to introduce you first because I've known this dude for he's a mobster, as you can see. But I've known Jamie now for at least how many years has it been?
Since 2012. Yeah.
So 13 years.
13 years, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, man. Okay, so we've known each other for long. He was actually my trainer. So, and that was back in the day. You've kind of slackened, dude.
It's
I
been
mean-
different lifetime back then, yeah. He looked
Yeah, back in the day.
I forgot he said not to mention that.
Too late now. But Jamie's been a good friend of mine also, and we've kept in touch. And I have a lot of respect for this man. He's done a lot of stuff, and he actually is going to be part of the book as well.
Mhm.
And so we're going to get into your story, but there are things that I didn't even know about that you'd mentioned that I want to definitely talk about.
Mhm.
Before we get into that, Jason, do we have any things that we want to mention out there as far as like what we're doing as far as with the brand?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, you mentioned the book. So yeah, we're on
Important thing.
Trajectory Volume 2. #1 was #1 Amazon bestseller. So we're gonna
In two
in
categories.
2 categories. So we're hoping to do the same, and we are gonna do the same on Volume 2. Still a little bit more time if anybody wants to get in at the last minute. But yeah, we're gonna be rocking and rolling pretty shortly with that. And yeah, you mentioned the personal brand mastermind group. So, you know, one of the ideas of Trajectory is to be able to amplify people's voices, people who have, you know, something that's gonna help others, to give them a platform where they can have a loudspeaker. That's one of the reasons for the book, is also, you know, if you have best-selling author behind your name, it's a lot easier to get invited on the podcast, to do things to get your name out there. But the other thing is your personal brand, like solidifying what your personal brand is, you know, tying all your social media, make sure it all aligns, and then actually staying accountable and actually doing the posting and the work. So we have a mastermind group, and if you want to join it, it's free. Every Monday at 12, we meet, keep each other accountable, talk about our wins, our losses, what's working, what's not, talk about strategy, and then help each other grow. So we have a Telegram group where we help each other engage in each other's posts. You know, you have something that you want to share and you want to get out there, make sure everybody likes and follows and comments. So it really to just boost everybody up and give them that pedestal that we're talking about. Yep.
Awesome. So I guess that being said, what the whole thing that we're doing here is to try to help the trajectory of other people's lives. So in doing that, you know, from time to time, we all get our asses kicked in one way or another. Sometimes emotionally, sometimes mentally, sometimes physically, sometimes spiritually, right? We're struggling with different things. But the idea of what we're doing is to talk about things and make connections to help the trajectory of other people's lives, however that is. And I think one of the secrets is, yes, so we have people like you that come and have a story that share, people can glean some insights. But the secret sauce is that when people are in a position to help others, that is the secret to trajectory. If you can help somebody else, it's like, it's the secret. It's the secret of having a satisfied life, because you can help somebody. And anyway, giving is better than receiving. So that being said, Jamie, so you were a trainer. That's how I first met you.
right.
What led up to that? And I guess let's just start there. What led up to you being a trainer?
I became a trainer through the sport of arm wrestling. Kind of a weird way to say it, but because I joined the sport of professional arm wrestling in 2005, it made me want to have a career in health and fitness. So I used to be a gym rat in my college years, and I kind of lost sight of that until arm wrestling. Then I had a reason to train for something, right? So when you're done playing sports, if you don't have a reason to get in the gym, it might kind of fail, right? I'm guilty of that in my later years. So that's what brought me to being a trainer. And then I couldn't just stay there. I had to go up or do something different, and eventually for myself. So that's where it started.
And then, so, but the very What is your first issue with having adversity?
That starts at age 3. And I detail it in the book. I actually had a stroke when I was 3 and was paralyzed. So I kind of joke around about stuff now, saying I was like the Forrest Gump, but smarter of Riverside. You know, I couldn't use my legs. And then I ended up doing some pretty cool stuff throughout my later years in life. You know, a restaurant. It's not Bubba Gump Shrimp, but it's a restaurant. Didn't meet the president, but I've met some pretty interesting people. So my life has been just filled with a bunch of different cool things that I've done, you know, and I've had that almost winning lottery ticket in business too, which is another slap in the face that I can detail in the book. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. But my, I guess the way I was shaped was because of this stroke and not being able to do something. And when you're a kid, kids fall down, they get hurt, they get up, they keep going, right? But adults don't really do that. We kind of take things to heart. It's harder to bounce back from things. But, you know, when my mom tells a story of me paralyzed, all of a sudden just getting up and changing the channel, I don't know what they were watching, but I didn't want to watch it. So that began my journey to being the type of person that I am. And that's basically, you can't tell me I can't do something because I will do it. So that's where it started.
My kind of
How long was it until you can actually walk?
I think it was about 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, being a 3-year-old, you don't really go too many places anyway, you know, so.
Have you had any after effects of that?
Not other than being slightly weaker on the left side of my body, which is why I'm a right-handed national arm wrestling champ, not left. But I excelled in every other sport, you know, soccer, basketball, football, track. So it didn't affect me like you would think.
Are there any risks? Like, did they realize what actually happened? What was the diagnosis or what?
You know, they don't know. Rumor has it the same doctor that treated me at Loma Linda is still working there. So maybe I can call him and ask him. I think he's just counseling now, but he's got to be pretty old. And, you know, this was 40 years ago.
So basically, a lot of the stories of people that have overcome certain things, it's because they got some kind of a major adversity, right? So
Right.
I'd say that qualifies you for that.
Mhm.
When did you decide that you were going to be a trainer, though?
Probably from all my years in the gym business. No, sorry, in the gym when I was in college. If I wasn't enjoying the classes, I was in the gym. And I didn't end up using my degree per se till later in life. But yeah, I just decided to go into the gym. And if I didn't like the class, I was in the gym. So I gained all this knowledge, got my network moving. And then I ended up, you know, applying for a job as a trainer. And there was like 30 people on that application pool, and they chose me.
You said you kind of got into it because of arm wrestling. How'd you get into arm wrestling, first of all?
Arm wrestling started for me in the 80s. Yeah, and it's because of that Sylvester Stallone movie.
Over the Top.
Over the Top. Yeah, that's usually how a lot of us my age group started. The wide world of sports was pretty popular back then too. You know, you'd have arm wrestlers, arm wrestling, professional football players, things like that. So it was already on TV. It's just it wasn't really that mainstream other than that. But that movie did it for me. I was 6 years old and just started arm wrestling all my friends and then never looked back. So yeah, I'm not a 40-year professional, but I've been arm wrestling for 40 years, I guess.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
And obviously, you got a lot of contacts from being. There's a lot of interesting folks, I imagine, doing arm wrestling.
I've met people from all over the country, all over the world. I mean, I could call somebody in every major city and say, hey, pick me up from the airport, and I have a ride or a place to sleep, you know. So that was kind of cool. That whole network thing and you find your tribe, that's kind of what kept me going in arm wrestling because, you know, after a while, your body starts to hurt and you don't want to do it as much, but the community is where it's at.
Are you still arm wrestling?
Yes, we're part of the World Series of Arm Wrestling TV show, which is now on Amazon Prime. So it's pretty cool. We'll have a TV show on Amazon Prime or Prime Video, and then we'll have a book on Amazon Prime. So double threat.
Awesome.
It's good timing.
Awesome. That is good timing.
Yeah.
For all of us.
When's the release of that?
They just released season 1 a week ago.
Oh, wow.
We filmed it 2 years ago. And you guys know that things take forever in the film industry. So we traveled all over the country filming the first season. We just filmed last season, last year, and that one will probably be another, you know, year or two out. But yeah, look for it on Prime as well.
That's badass.
Pretty cool, yeah.
I'd say. So also now arm wrestling, so you've had some success there, but what as far as business wise, entrepreneurial wise?
Okay. So after a while, being the type of person I am, I didn't want to work for people anymore. You reach a certain level in the gym business where you can't go any further. Okay, I'm done. But I still loved fitness, so arm wrestling kept me in it. But anyways, I would say I started my first business because of arm wrestling directly. So when I talked to teachers and people that I knew from my childhood that told me stop arm wrestling, it's like, well, I created a business. I became a professional athlete. It's not a mainstream sport, but I managed to have some fun with it. And I created a business because of my network in arm wrestling. So when I was running a nutritional store, and I use the analogy of why make pennies for someone to make hundreds when you can make thousands, I decided, well, I'll start my own supplement company and we'll name it after my nickname in the sport and see what happens. I didn't think I'd have 36 distributors nationwide after 3 years being in 4 countries, almost in 6. And then the pandemic hit. So that's another book. But yeah, for being somebody who's not rich and famous, I managed to do something from nothing.
What was your nickname?
The Natural.
Oh.
So we called the supplement company NatFit. Simple. I'm terrible with titles. Even my wife named our kids because I'm just terrible. I can't even think of a name for the chapter of my book. I'm still thinking about that. Like, what am I going to call it? Forrest Gump?
Interesting.
Yeah. So
The Natural.
The Natural. Yeah. See, thank you.
Yes.
You get credit for that. Yeah. Thank you. We'll
He
call
does
it
that a
Natural.
lot.
I can imagine. That's why you two are friends.
Yeah, one of the reasons for sure, man.
Yeah.
So with NatFit, and by the way, I've tried it, and it's protein powder, branched chain amino acids,
Everything. We had
pre-workout.
because I had to put it on pause when I got into the restaurant business. Long story there, but we had protein, we had thermogenics, joint supports, which is good for arm wrestlers and old men like us. Fruits and greens, women's multivitamins. We had it all. Protein. I had 8 flavors of protein. Glazed donut was our first. Oh man, yeah. I think I was the first one to do glazed donut. Now I see it everywhere. Blueberry muffin. Just it was fun. Just creating flavors. Yeah.
And then what made you
Pre-workout.
What made you decide? Okay, so you have the NatFit. Okay, I understand. COVID happened, screwed a lot of people up, and then you have this opportunity. How did it present itself?
One thing I've always learned is I can spot opportunities and I always take advantage of them. So a nostalgic restaurant in my hometown was falling. It was struggling for about a decade or two. They say the 3rd generation usually ruins a business. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. You can ask my grandkids. But I've been going to that restaurant since the 80s. It's been there since the 60s. We noticed it was struggling. I saw a GoFundMe on Facebook, and I'm like, what the heck's going on with this? So we went in. A partner of mine, he's actually my friend from across the street growing up. So we're 2 local boys that went and saved the restaurant in the community. It was just an opportunity. We were just going to help, but we ended up taking over and made it our own.
You had some issues though in order to do that, right? It wasn't just like, oh, here's the business, run it, right?
I could write a whole book on that whole process. I mean, owning a online supplement company with distributors and licenses, that was easy compared to buying a restaurant, and especially an old one in an old building and in California. Oh my God. So I'm glad I didn't write that book with you last year because I was so angry at the situation. Yes. Yes. I had to do a lot of rear end kissing. Yes. Oh man. Yeah, the hoops you have to jump through with different, zoning. And all we did was take an existing restaurant, create a different tax ID so we didn't inherit any of the debt. But they see that as a new business. So they're going to nickel and dime you for everything, right?
Yep.
But other than that, the community responded real well. So it was a blessing. Everybody wanted the restaurant to stay open. So we did that. And I have no restaurant experience other than washing dishes.
So what was the biggest shock to you with that in that business? Besides the permitting and the time frame and the health department and all that crap, like the actual business, brass tacks.
I was in Palm Springs in December and I spoke with a gentleman who owned a restaurant or 2 out there. And I told my wife at the time, I just saw this guy work in the room. I'm like, he's the owner. She's like, how do you know? I said, watch. And I looked it up on my phone. Sure enough, he was. He was mingling with the guests. And I'm like, I'm a natural person that's extroverted. I like to mingle and meet people. So if all I have to do is be the mayor of the place and run the accounts, cool. So I didn't think it would be that social for me. But I brought people on to run it. Like, we have a general manager. She manages the staff. Staff's mainly women, young women. So I don't want to be there. I had to deal with that with the gym business, and there's just, you don't want to be around too many women too long. It's just, they go crazy. So yeah, but yeah, it's been fun so far.
Oh, we could go in different directions with that one.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's a whole nother book.
That's a whole other book. Yeah.
What about as far as the food and like ordering? And then, as far as, okay, obviously you gotta get people into the establishment, right?
Right.
That's number one.
Mhm.
But in order to do that, you're trying to figure out, how do I do that? They already had a menu, so you guys were thinking about different ways in order to improve or.
Right. So being that it's been around for 60 years, the old guard of customers still come in. That's their spot. I hear so many stories of people from high school that would ditch school to go to that restaurant in the 60s. We just served a party. It was this young lady, I say young lady to everybody, she's 85 years old. She was part of the first graduating class at my high school. They come there every Monday. So if you can imagine 60 years of customers, happy ones, want to keep this place open. The drawback was my generation got sick and tired of the place closing. It was never open. They had all these issues. So we just stopped going. The younger generation doesn't know about it. So that was our job, is to round up the youngsters to come in through various means. I'm friends with a lot of teachers. That helps. My wife's a teacher. So we know of a lot of people within school districts that can convince people to come in. But then, you're the marketing guy, so I'm sure you can vouch to all that. I mean, we do like specials for kids. You bring in your report card, give them a free meal. It doesn't cost us anything, right? So that gets families to bring in their children. And then little things like that. Filming an arm wrestling TV show there doesn't hurt. Car shows in the parking lot. We're doing a paint and sip night for the ladies in a few weeks. So a bunch of different low-cost marketing, because we haven't had a budget the first year for marketing, but we need to step up our marketing game, that's for sure. So maybe you and I can chat.
How did that arm wrestling show come about?
Let's see. I've been a part of several major leagues that have been on TV. The Ultimate Arm Wrestling League. That was fun because we had Bruce Buffer calling us to the stage from the UFC. I get the chills thinking about that still. That's hearing that guy's voice call you to the stage is amazing.
Cool.
World Arm Wrestling League was big for a while on ESPN, and then COVID kind of killed that one. So they started to push things onto streaming platforms instead of ESPN, because so many people don't watch TV anymore, but they're on their phone. So streaming platforms is where it's at. And then one of my friends who's a TV producer, he said, you know what? I've been around arm wrestling 10 years. I think I can help. So he created the league. And now we're on the 4th season of the league, the 3rd official one. The first one was a pilot. And yeah, money's better now. And the hard part for me was traveling 6 weekends in a row last summer. I got 3 little ones at home, a business I was trying to keep going, another business that was kind of going under. So last year took a lot of stress toll on me. That was rough.
When you're in that situation, obviously you were a trainer for a while.
Yeah.
So you were and then you had, the NatFit whole product line, right?
Mhm.
So knowing and being an entrepreneur, is there little bells going off saying, shit, I'm not working out, I'm not eating right, I'm not like, did you have those kind of scenarios?
Absolutely.
And then how did you reconcile it?
As a trainer, well, you remember, because as a trainer, this was kind of a saying amongst all trainers. It's like, if whatever's going on in your life, go work out, go to the gym. Your dog ran away, go to the gym. Your house burned down, go to the gym. It's good for your mental, right? Not just the physical. However, do we always practice what we preach? No. So I was the first victim of me not doing what I've been telling people to do, right? It's like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you with work. Go to the gym, you'll feel a little bit better. It's not going to solve your problem. But becoming as stressed as I was, and from arm wrestling now becoming a job, because I was appointed the director of athlete relations, and I was supposed to go to all the events. it became a job and I didn't want to work out. So I wasn't working out for fun. I wasn't working out for my hobby. I was working out for a job. And I'm 40 something years old. I don't want to do that. I want to eat sandwiches all day.
Yeah.
So that was a struggle. And that was an issue that I knew better to keep exercising, but I didn't.
So because I have that same issue, right? I know that I should be going to the gym. I know I should be working out, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Mhm.
And then tomorrow I'm not doing it again. And then the next day I'm still not doing it.
Mhm.
Right. So at some point I'm gonna pull my head out of my ass. I keep telling myself.
Yeah.
And then go to the gym. But I'm just wondering if there's any like secret sauce in order to actually make it happen, you know?
As a 25-year fitness guy, I don't have the answer. It's just, you got to get up and do
Do you
it.
think at least if you're preparing for something like you're competing, right?
Yeah.
That would be like, because you like to compete and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so if you start competing again, like jiu-jitsu or
That's-
whatever.
that's-
it might
You're right. And that's usually where it is, like when I managed the nutritional store or I was a gym manager, you meet those people that are in there because one, oh, I have to get ready for a wedding. I'm going on a cruise. I need to look better in my bikini, or guys just want to get bigger, or, whatever the situation is. It's like, we'll and I have told people this is find an event or a situation that you want to train for. Not too far out because you're going to lose interest and just take those little wins. Just like life.
So I want to throw that out there. So what he just said is basically if you want to get into better shape or whatever, is to find something that you want to work out for. So throwing it out to the crowd and whoever's listening, think about that for a second. What is it that we can do? Because I'm also telling that to myself. What can we think of that will give us an excuse to work out? Something that we can look forward to, something that is, whether it's a competition of some sort or,
Shirts.
what's that?
Type of shirts.
Yeah, you're on the road with that.
Famous rappers, dancers, pool parties?
Yeah.
What are you trying to?
So we're having a pool party at my house called the Stang Bangin' Pool Party with Cool Boy, and it'll be interesting.
Interesting.
So yeah. Anyway, so are you saying I should use that to get in shape? Oh, you okay?
How about?
Me neither.
Yeah.
Everybody has to don't show up unless you plan on definitely wearing a swimsuit. He's really strict about it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I just felt like that was a good point we needed to emphasize, because
course.
I do think that is a secret to get people motivated, because sometimes the day-to-day just we fall, and then our priorities switch.
It's lower on your priority list, and then it becomes a priority when it has to be, when you're sick, when you're older, you got ailments, things hurt. Then people want to take better care of themselves.
Yeah.
You hear the story all the time.
But at some point it's too late, because the things that you waited to do now has caused irreparable damage on your body.
Right.
So have you ever looked into like biohacking or peptides or any of that stuff?
Yeah, peptides became the biggest craze in the last, I would say the last 5 to 10 years. But I never marketed those. I thought about it, but at that point, the business was kind of going,
You take any of them?
no. Got a lot of friends that take them. I need more data.
Amen.
I want to ask you something, like, because I know for sure, like, your success and all the stuff that you do, a lot of it stems from the competitive nature that you got, right?
Yeah.
So since you've been so successful at arm wrestling, what do you think was the difference between you and everybody else that's trying arm wrestling? What's that little edge that you had?
I was good. Okay. And I hit my stride right about 40, which is weird, right? Because most sports you're
Younger.
right. So you go to Europe, arm wrestlers peak in their 20s because they start when they're children. It's like they look at arm wrestling like we look at basketball, football, golf, or whatever you train your kids at a young age. So they say old man strength is an American thing, because our athletes that are the best are in their 50s, 40s. Some are still competing in their 60s. See? He's a rare one, yeah. So, got off topic on
No,
that.
what's the edge? What was your edge?
What was my edge? Oh, I don't want to say the natural because I was naturally good, but you have to take your gift and expand on it, right?
Okay.
Being that I was relatively tall for my lighter weight classes, that helped because of my style of arm wrestling. So I was able to separate people from their arm a little bit easier. But when I jumped up to higher weight classes, you're going against guys with bigger hands, more muscles, bigger frames, and it becomes a little more challenging. So I call arm wrestling a game of chess at high speed with strength. So if you're smart and quick, that helps. So I think that was part of what helped me because I'm not the biggest guy, as you can see. And I was really good here and in the States, but on the world level, I can't beat the guys that are 150 pounds.
Yeah.
You go to guys from Kazakhstan, Turkey, Russia. Yeah, those are some serious athletes.
Who's gonna beat LeBron? That's what
Nobody. It's going to take a guy his size that's got years of experience, and it's probably not going to happen for a while unless somebody gets lucky, like like Hermes Gasparini, who used to be my size, who's now 270 pounds, and he's enhanced, and that's not healthy. Devin might maybe if he can keep going. He's doing stuff like stem cells, and he's now competing at almost 50, like he used to in his 20s and 30s.
Oh, wow.
So stem cells is another thing I need more data on too.
You have a question, Mikey?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was just curious, do you have are you willing to share a couple of strategies that you've come up with in this game that you use? You know what I mean? Like do you come up with the strategy and would you be willing to share them?
In arm wrestling?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you everything. The thing about arm wrestling is it's such a small community that you could be sitting next to the Michael Jordan of arm wrestling and he'll tell you all his secrets. It's not like we keep it to ourselves. We want to show you what we're doing. Try to beat me. So absolutely, I tell people how to beat all their friends all the time. But then I give them the disclaimer that don't go get hurt now.
I called you. Remember when I called you that day? Because we had
Yes.
wrestling competition. I was like, oh, I'm gonna kick everybody's ass, right? And then I called and I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, okay, so tell everybody some of the advice that you gave me.
Okay. So usually when you first get into arm wrestling, we tell you how not to hurt yourself because you're never going to break my arm. It's me that breaks my arm, right? So you got to protect yourself, just like in every other sport. You got to learn safety first. I was talking to an MMA guy today, and he said, yeah, the first thing you teach kids in mixed martial arts is how to fall. And I was like, you're right, because if you can't fall properly, how are you going to fall with somebody on top of you? So anyways, as far as the arm wrestling tricks, and it's technique, but you have to be strong to implement that technique. Like I could go beat everybody in this bar, promise, unless there's a professional here, and I'd recognize him if I saw him that's better than me. But if I told them how to beat me, and if they have the right frame, they might have a chance because they're just bigger and stronger, right? But the main technique is to control the hand. So when you first think of arm wrestling, you think of going sideways. So what I show people is you go sideways, and if I apply physics and pressure going back, it stops your momentum from going sideways, right? On the flip side of that, if I go this way, you pull towards your face, you separated me from my arm. Then, so you already know how to do it. And then, so that's a very safe technique to use. So just get people pulled away from their face. That's then it becomes more complicated.
Layers.
Yeah.
When he did share, I was like, there.
Well, who loves geometry and physics? Anybody in here? Okay, so think about how many angles are in the elbow. How about the hand? Then think about fingers and pressures and rotation. That's all the techniques. There's so many of them. There's 4 major moves, but if you can implement it in a different degree as this guy who's on the same wavelength or same strength, it can be over in half a second. And it may look like I'm that much better, but he was right there. I just executed It's an amazing sport, and it's chess, exactly. Yeah. Robert Drink started the Ultimate Arm Wrestling League that Bruce Buffer was a part of. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jonathan Hoffman. I think was
Hoffman came in from the strongman world, and
Yeah.
he did pretty well in arm wrestling. Yeah. So you know those guys?
Oh, yeah, I know those guys. I used to work for Robert Drank, and I remember my first day on the job, they had an arm wrestling table out, and I was like, what kind of place is this? These guys are arm wrestling at lunchtime.
Was that for the
And-
mortgage industry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this was probably about 10, 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started, I don't know if he has it anymore. I've been detached from those guys for a long time, but being there I was like, he's investing a lot of money into this league.
Robert did amazing things for the sport of arm wrestling. I was a part of his league from the start. He had a vision. He's a businessman. He teamed up with an arm wrestling legend in the sport who hosts events the last 40 years. So you get those two together, the money and the knowledge. It's amazing what he did. And, you know, he got Bruce Buffer involved. And you're right, he ran out of a facility in Huntington Beach. So we were always down there filming things. And he's not involved anymore. Like anybody who invests in a business, if it's not going kind of the direction you want, at some point you got to hang it up. If you're spending all your money, yeah. So I don't know the
He went into
details.
horse racing instead.
Did he really?
Yeah. Him and
Last I
Spartan.
heard, he got in a car accident, crashed one of his Lamborghinis or something like that, and broke his back or something. But he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine now, from what I hear. Yeah.
That's good.
Small world, huh?
Yeah, it's small world. I mean, I didn't know that you were talking about arm wrestling. I was like, hey, shoot, I know these guys from arm wrestling.
I might have seen you. I was always down at his place.
Yeah.
We even went to his mortgage business and hosted events at the bar right next to it.
Yep.
Yeah, we were down there. Crazy.
Small world, man.
Yeah. You were renting. I'm like, wait a minute, that was renting at the same time.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, when I think about it.
So, right?
I've noticed it's more like two for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that day that I did call you to get the advice, I did get my ass whipped.
I wonder if they knew what they were doing.
Well, the thing is that you can't really, when you have somebody that is that much bigger and stronger, because it wasn't a weight class, it was like everybody. So I'm going up against somebody that was like 280, like 6'5", and
Yeah,
it's like I'm
yeah.
like, I'm gonna kick your ass. Fuck that. Excuse my French. Didn't quite work out like that.
Right.
Even if I had the technique, you know, there's a certain thing to size and strength that I couldn't do it.
At some point, someone could just be too big, too strong for your technique. You're right.
Yeah. And then they just look at you like, come on, little. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I'm glad you didn't get hurt though.
no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Just my pride and my ego.
Yeah, it happens to us all.
But okay, so here we are today. Is there again, the whole idea of the podcast is to help people that have adversities to face. If you could sum up the adversities that you've had in your life and give advice for somebody that might be in the middle of an adversity right now, what would you say?
Well, not knowing everyone's situation, my advice is always kind of in a reference to that Instagram post of a guy digging for gold and it's an inch away. He doesn't know it, but he's still digging. Then there's the other guy who's an inch away and he quits. Don't quit. Of course, we hear that all the time from when we're young. Don't quit. But, unless it's becoming like a health reason, but just keep at it and keep your eye on that prize, man. I had a winning lottery ticket in business. I think I told you about. I started a company with $160 business license. Flash forward 6 years later, I'm sitting in a $50 million mansion in Bel Air with a guy ready to invest in my company. And I shake the 24-year-old billionaire's hand. And funny because he called himself the Godfather too.
Nah.
You can actually look him up. He got busted for embezzling money. Crypto. So anyways,
Damn it, man.
the guy invested in my company. He said, all right, I'm gonna give you some money for advertising, which I didn't have $30,000 to spend in advertising in one day. He did. So he invested in it. I was watching my website go bing, bing with orders. It's like, oh, this is great, but how do you keep this up if you don't have that kind of money to invest in advertising? Anyways, long story short, he was going to invest and buy into my company, and then he had to skip town. And now we know why he had to skip town, because he was getting investigated by the feds. So that was my lottery ticket, because I heard a rumor. A friend of mine asked him, so what are you going to do with Jamie? He said, let's start NatFit gyms. And my buddy said, yeah, let's start a NatFit gym. And he said, no, I want to start 100 NatFit gyms.
Damn.
So that was my lottery ticket for business. And it took me a while to process all that, how it was kind of like not meant to be. But then the restaurant thing popped up and I'm like, well, here's another endeavor. Let me go dive into that. But if you're that close to that kind of success, and then it's kind of like yanked away, that took a lot of
Oh yeah.
stress on my ego. But it's amazing what you can do. And I never gave up after that. I just kept going. You know, I had to put that business on pause just because we didn't want to lose any more money, and then focus on the restaurant. But I haven't quit at business. That's where I was going with this. Still keep going, because those punches are coming.
Yep. There's a book, From Good to Great. I don't remember the author's name, but basically they do research on the top like 500, top 100 companies, and a lot of data of companies that have made it really big.
Mhm.
And they've looked at different market factors and different team factors and the founders. And what they found is that, you know, sometimes luck is a huge part of the equation.
Of course.
Because you can have a perfect team that kicks ass, that knows everything. You can have everything is looking as if it's going to pop off, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And because there's something that just happens. And, you know, so a lot of the companies that are truly really successful, a lot of that has to do with luck.
Mhm.
So I think people out there that are trying to be entrepreneurs, that are trying to hustle, that are kicking their ass, that are staying up, that are working later than everyone else, sometimes you look back and you're like, why, how have I not had success? Because I've put all these hours, I've spent all this money, I've almost gone broke trying to do everything I could. And then what do I got to show for it? Not a damn thing. What, you know, there are a lot of people. I've been in that boat myself.
Guilty,
Right?
guilty. Yeah.
So I think your mindset does have a lot to do with it, but it's not just because if you have the right mindset, you're going to make it and you're going to be successful. No, it's a survival mechanism. You have to have the right mindset, because when things happen, which they will, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Mhm.
But if you have the right mindset, you can take that
Learn
that
from that.
data, yeah, and then you can turn it
Yeah.
into you can be Rumpelstiltskin.
Right.
Stiltskin?
Still skill. Yeah.
Say it 5 times.
I can't even say it once. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we all know people who work really, really hard that will never make it. And you're right. Luck is a huge part of it.
Yeah, and
Huge part of it.
And I think we just, yeah.
Hi, Marissa. I was gonna say, when you were saying that, I was like feeling this thing, it's control, it's control. The feeling of giving up what could be of control and like really taking that extra like push. Like, you know, when you're running a mile, well, maybe you guys don't know. I was very heavy growing up. Well, heavier than the other kids anyway. Maybe not too big. Mikey would know. We grew up together. But I know that it was harder for me to do it, right? But I didn't push myself to excel, to push my body past its limits till I got kind of grown. And I was like, oh, that felt powerful. Because my mom always made me try to make my life comfortable. I was spoiled rotten. But it didn't help me. See what I mean? So my point is that push of I'm not in control of pretty much we're all gonna die. Like that's how I feel every day. Everybody has to die at some point.
There's your motivation.
What are we doing with ourselves? What are we doing with ourselves? That's what I respect, right? What are we doing with ourselves? And some of us, if you look around, it's a lot of pain and we're not doing much and people are judging us and we're begging for money and we're selling our bodies and different things. Okay? But there's also people that maybe not struggle in that area, yet they're miserable because they don't connect to their wives when they go home. It's a secret. Know what I mean? There's all kinds of despair out there. We can't judge it, but my point is to give up that control of, I have to have that faith or like that hope that something has to be better when you're at rock bottom, you know, and something just happens. And so that's how I was feeling. It's about control because I've been a control freak forever. And when I started like letting it go and going, I'm just a flawed human being like anybody else, but I'm important just as anybody else. Some changed. So I was in tune with what you were saying, and that's what it meant to me as what you were saying. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanna actually, I like that because this is the way that I kind of view that too. So, like you said, like it's all luck. I think it's somewhat because think of it this way, if it's like a 1 out of 100 chance, yeah, some don't really get it on the first try, right? But if you don't have that vision that you'll hit it one day, then you'll just have all this negative like energy, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is what she said is that's actually like if you study a lot of the most successful businesses, they've always pivoted at some point. So the thing is, if you have that positive outlook, like something good's gonna happen, you're open to opportunity. You see the opening and you go for the opening.
Yeah.
If you have that
Right.
all like, I have bad luck, this is gonna fail, then you're still closed off on your idea, like, I'm doing this, it's not working. Like Instagram, it wasn't what it was supposed to
That's a
be.
good point.
Amazon's not what it was supposed to be. Like all these things
Right.
happened because they knew it was gonna be something. They didn't know what, but they just had that faith. So when they saw the opportunities, they were able to move that way,
Adapt and
adapt and
I
flow.
like that.
Yeah,
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Military saying improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Success is helping others along.
I-
As long as you do that, God will let you stay with your success.
That's another thing. Yeah, I agree. In both my businesses, the first one, I provided opportunities for average people across the country to jump on board for low cost, low risk. I took all the risk, and they get to do something as a side hustle for their family. And some of them did very well. So I took pride in that I was able to work hard and provide that for 36 people in the country, people in other parts of the world too. And then now I employ people at the restaurant. I'm giving people jobs and they're happy. I feel like I'm doing my part. So that was a really good point. You're right. And we employ all women of all walks of life and one young man because you got to make sure that kid is a respectable man to work with women. Yeah. So, we're taking care of people. It's called Antone's Italian Eatery in Riverside. It's been there for about 60 years. I haven't been there that long.
He looks good.
Oh. Wait till you get closer, then yeah.
Go ahead, Sal.
Yeah, I want to go back to the part about luck. Yeah, often luck is disguised as hard work. So one of the things about luck is some of us, we're all blessed. Some of us are lean towards good luck and some of us attract not good luck. So what you said about pressing forward and because you don't know where the next golden nugget is. So you gotta keep heading in the right direction. You'll find the good luck as long as you keep going.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes.
What's up, Tony?
Okay, I'm Tony. How are you today? It's great hearing from you.
Thank you.
I'm kind of like stuck on what you had said about the arm wrestling where the opponent doesn't break your arm, you break your arm. And I'm just wondering, it kind of makes sense, but I'm trying to see where the mindset comes from, because like you were talking about the prosperity mindset where, you were just moving right along and you meet someone that kind of pours into you and things just was going click, click, click.
Mm-hmm.
But in that arm wrestling match where your arm gets broke, this person knows it's good. I got it, I'm coming here and everything. But I'm wondering, what is it? Is it gets or mistechniques, or is it the strength, or is it that the other guy is just better and he just doesn't know it?
Could be a few factors. Yeah. For example, it's never usually a seasoned professional that gets hurt because their body is trained for it. They know what they're doing. They know not to. On the flip side of that, let's say it's two people arm wrestling on a picnic bench. Okay. They don't know what they're doing. They're all separated from their body. What's the first rule of working out and carrying something close to your body? So in arm wrestling, you're here, not out here. So that's mistake number one, right? And when something stops, what do? We try to alter our body. And what do people do? They start throwing their shoulder in, and I can see it coming a mile away. And it's 99.9% of the time, the arm break is a spiral fracture here. So the bone goes like that. And that's because you're trying to turn your shoulder in the wrong direction, right? Now, there's those rare occurrences where people might have like a calcium deficiency in their bones, and that's just bad luck, right? But that's very rare that something else will snap somewhere else. But it's usually you're trying to fix something and you don't know how to fix the direction, and that's usually when you break your own arm. Yeah. But on the flip side of that, as seasoned professionals, we do have hairline fractures everywhere. So at some point, you might just be unlucky and it snaps. It's happened to a couple of my friends that have been in the sport for many years. But every broken bone I've seen was an amateur or a novice, not a professional.
Okay, so it's more or less technique then.
It's or lack thereof.
You know. Few pounds heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a mismatch.
Sometimes, because as a lighter guy, I can always jump up to a higher weight class. And I've done it. I had a pretty good run of winning what we call the overalls after the event, where I end up beating the biggest guy there because he's just a little tired. So
Wow.
you can make some pretty good money like that. So yeah, the lighter guys can always request to jump into a higher class if they want, but the big guy can't go down to the little guys. But if I'm a little guy and I want to pick on one of the big guys or try, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
I'd have to say this was a pretty good podcast. I don't know if you guys have any other questions, Naomi?
Not a question. I just wanted to say I completely admire you, and everything
you.
that you've done and accomplished throughout all those years has been quite commendable. So I'm really excited that we got an opportunity to meet you, and you're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What's up, Nazi? Oh, yeah.
No, but what I really wanted to say was I like how you said how don't give up, keep on achieving your dreams no matter what. Because I know I felt so many times and I felt like giving up. And so that gave me a lot of motivation. And so I just want to say thank you, and you really inspired me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Right on.
Mine's a two-parter. Just kidding. Okay, so with the bones and how the other thing breaks or whatever, it reminded me of at Thanksgiving, the turkey bone, and how the trick is, I'm gonna give away my mom's secrets, but she said, don't pull, you hold it. Let the other person pull. She's right, and every time you'll win the wishbone. So, and then the second part was.
You're using the noggin. Good job. You did.
Let's make this interesting. Number 2 is, did you used to work at LA Fitness?
I've worked for every major gym franchise somewhere.
That's
20
right, I think I know.
24-hour fitness, LA Fitness, Crunch, UFC gym.
I'm fire.
Okay.
So when it used to be off 6th Street and we had water aerobics outside under the hot sun, like old school.
Yep, I did spend the first several years of my life in the gym, in business. Yeah, yeah.
Good information, thank you.
Thank you. You know, I also will say, because, we're all trying to do things, and I'm a yes man, so yeah, I can do that. Sure, I'll do that. No problem. I can try that. I'm guilty of this. I forget what I've done. So when I sit back and think of the things that I've done, I'm like, dang, I've done some pretty cool shit in my life,
Yeah,
right?
you could say.
I mean, I was on a game show for smart kids when I was 11. That's where my first TV appearance was. And I still need to find that
Wait, how did
footage.
you do that?
I don't know. I took a test. I don't even remember what my IQ was, but I got to find that because I had glasses on and I had really curly hair, if you guys can believe it. So I'll have to find that and I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you. Yeah, it's a
I
lot.
think that's a good point is, you know, we do have to remind ourselves, we do have to rewind, look in the rearview mirror every once in a while. And remind ourselves that we have done, we take a hold on to the things that we fail at instead of looking at the independent successes that we have in between all those failures.
Mhm.
Typically, there's a lot more failure that comes along than our successes, but we do have to remind ourselves of those stepping stones in between everything.
You're
I
right.
think that's probably one of the biggest things that we miss as people. I mean, I know, because you brought it up, I myself, you know, I tend to fall back on all my failures and I tend to forget until I have these moments of going, oh, you know what, actually, I was good at that. Or, you know, I did do that good. I need to remind myself, give myself a pat on the back
Yes.
and, you know, I don't suck that bad, so.
Yeah. It is.
Because the world says that's bragging when we clap for ourselves. That's sad, right?
Yeah, it is terrible. Yeah,
And
that's
no,
terrible.
we clap for ourselves the most. We have to love ourselves first before we can pour it out on others.
We're hard on ourselves because certain people look to us to be up all the time. And if you're not always up or winning, you know, it takes its toll on you, but we're human too, right? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Now, how much is that, all that's going in the book, volume 2?
Yes. No, you know, I there's a lot of the arm wrestling, there's a lot of the fitness business, the restaurant business, the stroke that I had, all that's in the book. Yes. Yeah. I had to.
Give us a little insight there.
Yeah. So you guys will already know some of that stuff that's coming. Yeah.
So, anybody else out there? My biggest takeaway from this whole thing that I'm really feeling right now is that at the end of the day, the most important thing for success is that you have to show up. You have to show up. You have to show up for yourself, for your family, for your partners, for your employees, for your other employees, for your peers.
Mhm.
Like you have to show up if you want to be successful, because it's in the presence that the things happen that you can learn from. And that if you're staying at home, if you're on the couch, if you're not getting your freaking ass up and out, then you will never experience that thing that you need. And so the fact that you showed up here tonight, that you came here when I was like, hey, do you want, and you're like, yeah, let's do it. Like right away, it was like a gut response,
Mhm.
right? That's the reason that you've had success, that you've been, yes, in failures, absolutely. But we learn through the failures and that we thrive through the triumphs, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you can't have that unless you show up.
Mhm.
The fact that you guys are here tonight is also a testament to that, because we will learn more than somebody that's not here. Maybe, you know, and so I guess I just want to let you know I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that you're here, that you're supporting us, right? Because nobody can do this alone. We need you. We need you to be part of this. If anybody's listening out there, we need you to be here too, because your engagement, your idea, your presence can help somebody that needs it. And sometimes people are depressed and they're in a depression because they feel like they're worthless.
Mhm.
You're not worthless. You're given things, you're blessed with things that you can, sometimes you don't know about until you can give it to somebody else. So we're beating ourselves up until we're in a position that we can show somebody else, hey, look, this is what I learned from this. Do this, check this out. Let me help you in this situation. And if you can put yourself in that shoe, you're just gonna help everybody. And we need you. We need people that are gonna do that. That's what trajectory is all about. It's not about just having somebody that knows everything, that comes in that's so successful. Look at me, I'm so successful. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
it's not like that. Nobody's like that in life. If you are, fuck you. And I'm just saying that, I'm just saying it because you're full of shit. And I'm only being as real as I can to myself, because there are people out there that do posture like that, that all they've ever had is success. And I think that that is doing a disservice for anybody else. And I think it's especially them,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
they're missing out on a huge opportunity to help somebody else that is in the trenches, that is actually struggling. And if you have that ability to help somebody that's actually struggling and you lift them up, there's nothing better in life than that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just like, yeah, you're never going to experience that.
Right.
So I just think that it's cool that you're here, that you can be humble, that you're telling everybody about the failures that you've had, and that you're just straight up, man. And that's why I liked you. That's why I liked you when you're a trainer, because you're just straight up, like, this is gonna kick your ass, but you're gonna toughen up and you're gonna make it happen, right?
Yep.
You just very straightforward and very humble. And I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of you guys for being here. I appreciate you for being here too and making all this shit happen. None of this would also happen without you as well. So I just love all you motherfuckers.
Love it.
One final thing, so you don't have to go through the whole story. Just recite what move means, because there's a lot of synchronicities and common ground on what we're actually, our mantra for trajectory is now move, but let everybody know what it stands for.
So M, and if you guys know, you can say, so M is make a difference in other people's lives. O is offer up your time, talents, and gifts. V is find victory in the small things. And then E is encourage others. And that's what you're doing here. That's what we're doing here. That's what it's all about.
When Scotty calls you, you just say, "Whose car we taking?" I did the Move podcast with Scotty, and here I am today. He asked me, "You want to come do it?" Yes, I'll be there.
That was awesome, man.
Got to meet all of you.
Appreciate that.
Good time.
Fucking
Thank you.
okay.
I think the good tagline is, at the end, final thoughts.